Hi,
Hello, hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good to be here.
Me too. So, I guess we can just wait for another minute and then we can start.
Okay, sounds good.
So to all of you who have joined, I'm Soumya and this is Khadija from WRI, and we're present here to sort of have a live session to discuss a lot of topics. So, please stay tuned for our discussion. What time is it there?
It's 8:34
Oh,
a.m.
okay.
in the morning, yeah. It's evening over there, right?
Yeah, it's 7:04 p.m. in the evening. Okay, or do you want to start?
Yeah, we can start.
Alright, so let's just introduce ourselves quickly and then we can get into the whole session.
Okay.
I'm Soumya. I am the Director of Operations at RutuChakra, and I basically handle the operations sphere of our organization. So I usually just manage the day-to-day functioning of RutuChakra, and I work in a department which is very well connected to every single department in the organization. So we basically manage resources and reach out if any departments are facing any kind of issues. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay. And I'm Khadija. I'm with the Women's Relief Initiative. I'm the Director of Marketing. So I really just help with maintaining WRI's public image. I'm also in charge of all of our social medias, just keeping our followers updated with where we're at, letting them know what we're doing, what we're currently working on, as well as directing like the education platform of what we stand for. So doing my best with sharing what we learn and just sharing about things that different women around the world go through with women who might not necessarily go through it.
So that's great. I think to all of the people watching us, this session is just going to revolve around a lot of topics. Like we're going to talk about our individual organizations. We're going to talk about what we exactly do, how exactly COVID-19 and the entire pandemic has affected us as an organization as well as people out there, and also talk about menstrual inclusivity, which is something that should be brought up. It's high time that it should be brought up now. So I'll just start off by introducing Ritu Chakra a little bit, and then we can move forward. So Ritu Chakra is a youth-run organization. It was founded by my friend Sanjana Dixit in 2018, and it's been 2 years since we've been in progress. It's been a really fun journey. I feel like we mostly focus on promoting, educating, as well as sort of spreading awareness about menstruation, talking about topics surrounding menstruation, as well as promoting menstrual hygiene. And we do this by conducting a lot of workshops, not only in the rural areas, but also in the urban areas. So, yeah.
Okay. And with WRI, our mission, when we initially started in 2019, it was just an organization, a campus organization, but we're spreading now into becoming a nonprofit organization. Our initial purpose when we first started was just to help with provision of pads and other menstrual hygiene products, but as we grew, we recognized like the bigger issues in that whole situation of just menstrual equity. So we also, sustainability is a big part of what we stand for. We are in the process of developing a biodegradable pad, biodegradable so that it doesn't contribute to pollution in the areas that we try to serve, and sustainable in that we try to develop it using resources that are found in these regions so that women could eventually, make it for themselves and just rely on themselves for that thing. And we also have an education platform. So we, at our events that we hold, we try to have workshops over there as well. And we have a podcast that we use to really just use it as a platform to have these types of conversations and just make it more of a norm than a stigma and a taboo, which is what it currently is. And also with education, we're working on developing a curriculum as well that we could eventually implement into schools of the regions that we serve.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you on the fact that apart from promoting menstruation and educating as many people as possible about menstruation, sustainable menstruation is also something people should be aware of because even though we do provide sanitary menstrual products to organizations and stuff, these very menstrual products, the kind of materials they're made of, can also harm the environment. And it
Exactly.
is proven that there are some kinds of sanitary napkins that cause diseases or infections to to our bodies itself. So a topic like sustainable menstruation is, I think, really, really important to talk about. So, would you like to go a little bit in detail about that?
Yeah. So yeah, so with the paths that we're trying to develop right now, um, that's a part of what our research team is working on, and we're creating prototypes. I think we're on second or third prototype right now. And really, what we're testing for is not only its usage, like how good it is at absorbing like blood, right? But also, how does it affect the woman who's wearing it? And then, like I said, how easy is it to make it in the first place? Because if it's something that we want women to have access to, then they truly have to have access to it. It has to be something that can be developed with resources that are either abundant or just accessible wherever they are.
Right.
So yeah, that's a big thing.
All right. So let's, I think, start talking about our mission and vision and tell people what exactly our organizations do. So we sort of perform three tasks. I mean, when it comes to educating people, promoting, spreading awareness, and even distributing products. So we conduct very interactive workshops, as I said, in both rural and urban areas. So in schools, government schools, organizations, communities, etc., for maids, house helpers, and even students. So the topics, they sort of vary from each workshop. So in some workshops which we conduct in rural areas, we focus more on the biological process of menstruation. We emphasize more on personal hygiene. We emphasize more on menstrual hygiene. Whereas in workshops conducted in urban areas, we sort of focus more on, say, why is it important to have a conversation about menstruation, not only with girls but also with boys, right? So we also talk about, say, mood swings, or why it's important to spread awareness about the issue itself. So yeah, and the other thing we do is we distribute menstrual products. Like I said, we aim to distribute at least a 6 month supply to each organization, and we also conduct follow-up sessions to see whether it's suitable for them or not. And we also aim to promote open and fair conversations about menstruation among both menstruators as well as non-menstruators. So yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. Similarly to y'all, we also aim to provide menstrual products. When we first started, that was our main goal because it was an issue that actually the co-founders myself and 4 other co-founders, it was an issue that we weren't all too familiar with, admittedly. It's something that we're all from West Africa, and 4 out of the 5 of us are from one particular country called Guinea. And we all grew up here in the US, so it wasn't an issue we were too aware of. But upon learning about it and then learning how much it affects like our own family that we have back home in Guinea, that's how we started, researching more about it. And when we found out about the issue, we were just all like, oh my goodness, you know. So our first initial goal was how can we get pads over there, because it's something that's extremely expensive over there, and most women just go without it because it's easier. So that was our initial goal. But like I said, as we learned more about it, as we learned that this is an issue that affects women all over the world, and the only reason people like us didn't know about it is because we were privileged in the fact that we didn't have issues in terms of pads being extremely inaccessible. So, as we grew, we wanted to educate others just like we ourselves were educating ourselves and learning more about it. So, we do conduct workshops when it's taking place in the regions that we want to serve, like when we're having events where we provide pads. We have a workshop talking about how to use them, why it's important to use them, how to dispose of them properly. But when we're having educative platforms like in areas closer to where we are, like I said, we started as a campus organization. When it comes to like places more in the West, it's more of just informing about these issues that affect women, and also letting them know like how drastically it can affect women. This can really um, change the trajectory of a girl's life. So that's how we like kind of navigate between the education when it comes to regions that we serve and then the region that we're in. And yeah.
Yep, definitely. So, how did you come across sort of turning this idea into a reality? What made you sort of, driven to start this organization itself?
So as a college student, and a college student at a predominantly white institution, it was really kind of hard to just find people I could relate to, except for my cousin, who is also a co-founder of WRI. We went to the same university, so we were close in that aspect, and he actually introduced me to 3 other African students there. We would have like dinners every Sunday just to, be close to home kind of, and just create that kind of like home atmosphere while we're away at college. And it was then that we were like, we really should be doing something while we're here students studying to just give back to, even if it's just back home in Guinea. And we were like, yeah, what should we do? And that's how we first started hearing about period poverty, and that's when we started our research. And the more we learned about it, the more everyone was just like, this is something we have to contribute to eradicating because it's ridiculous. So that's how we started. And like I said, like just the more that we're aware of the issue and how it affects girls' lives, the more we want to do. So we went from, just trying to have an event every year where we can bring pads back home to, becoming a nonprofit organization where we can have like a larger base of people we want to serve, and also serve them in different ways rather than just like providing pads, also educating them. So yeah, that's how we started. How about y'all?
Okay, so that's. I mean, we did start along similar lines. So my friend Sanjana, 2 years ago, I think on her birthday, she visited this organization, and she wanted to use the washroom over there, and I. That's when it sort of struck her that the condition of the washroom itself was so bad that there was lack of proper facilities, and she realized there are girls living over there, and the kind of state they were living in, the kind of the kind of environment they were living in wasn't really up to the mark. And
Nice.
because these girls looked like they were menstruating, the condition of the washroom itself did not look like something anybody would want to visit, right? So that sort of ignited the idea in her mind that there should be something done about it, because it could be that people know about menstruation, but it's just that they're not using the right means to promote it, or it's that people just altogether don't know about the concept of menstruation at all. So that's how RutuChakra was sort of formed. That she took this idea and spoke to a lot of people about it, and she realized that it's something that's an issue that has to be addressed immediately, because it does affect a lot of women and like a lot of other menstruators around the world, not only in our country, right? So that's how it started. I mean, our core team was formed somewhere around July, where we conducted a crowdfunding campaign, and we had a set goal of say X amount of money, and a lot of us raised that higher than that amount. So that's how our core team was formed, and then we started off from there. You know, we conducted workshops, and we started, looking for volunteers and spreading the message to a lot of people. And initially, like you said, it was hard because we are a youth-run organization, so it does take a while for people to accept that and take us seriously, if I have
Yeah.
to say. So it was a challenge at the beginning, but I feel like we're 2 years down the line where we are right now, it's a really big achievement, and we have expanded, and I know for a fact that we have had a lot of people around there.
Okay.
So
That's great.
yeah.
That's great. So, how would you say your organization has been impacted so far, just with the pandemic and everything that's going on?
So I'd say that as an organization, we didn't get impacted to an extreme amount, or we didn't get impacted very little either. It's just that we conducted a lot of workshops physically, and we sort of were in front of people physically, and we had a large audience in front of us, and we spoke to them. So I feel like that was the one thing that was affected the most because of this pandemic, because it restricted our movement out of our houses, and we did have to come up with ways to sort of communicate with people online. It also sort of affected our communication as a team, because I feel like it is more effective when we're sitting right in person, speaking about ideas, sharing thoughts and opinions, because that's how it is. So I feel like it was a big challenge for us, but we did come up with a lot of ways to spread awareness and talk about these issues and topics online. So that's about it. What about you?
I will say similarly to y'all as well. Um, I'll say that we're pretty fortunate in that WRI hasn't been extremely impacted either in terms of just our operations. So that's really good. We were in like the developmental stages for a lot of the things we're trying to push out. So like our curriculum, we're still developing. Our biodegradable pad is still developing. The main things that I will say did get affected is like our fundraising efforts. So a lot of that we would do in the US just on campus where we're based, and we would do sales. We would try to have like more educative sessions just in like different organizations on campus. So that for sure has gotten pushed to the back burner just because, in-person contact is kind of restricted right now. But I will say we're pretty fortunate. Yeah, we haven't been that affected. Our annual service project that was supposed to happen this summer but is now pushed to like September. So far, it's still gonna happen. We just have to take more precautions with that. But I will say everything that we have going for us is still going just a little slower. So I'm really glad that nothing had to get like completely canceled or just pushed back. Well,
Yeah.
it's been pushed back just a little, but it hasn't been canceled. So I feel like that's really good.
So, what would you say is your personal attachment to WRI? I mean, I feel like every team member in each organization has some or the other personal attachment with the organization they're working in. So, what would be yours?
I'd say mine in particular is I was born in the US, right? I was born and raised here. My parents, however, were born and raised in our home country in Guinea, West Africa. So I feel like and me and my siblings, we were like one of the first in our family to like actually immigrate to the US and live here. So a majority of my family is still back home. They still have to, deal with all of the issues that come with just living there. And I feel like the fact that my parents, made the sacrifice to come over here and make a new life for my siblings and I feel like that's saying a lot, and that I should have an obligation to use the privileges I was lucky to have just being born here to do what I can to like just help alleviate some of the issues my family back in Guinea that they go through. So just hearing about, I've always wanted to, I don't know, somehow just go back home and do what I can, just like, I don't know, with what I'm studying here in the US and just give back in some way. And I didn't expect it to happen for me until like much later on in my life, when I've already graduated, so had a career, just so I would actually, have the resources and the experience to be able to help. But hearing about period poverty and knowing that, just if I was born in Guinea, it's something that would have like extremely impacted me. Like I'm just comparing my life to like my cousins who live there who are my age. They're girls also. We're the same in every other virtual aspect except for, where we grew up. So just hearing about that and knowing it's something I could have a hand in contributing to, I was like, for sure, I'm definitely going to do what I can. And yeah, I'd say that's my personal touch. What about you?
So, I feel like I really feel like I've my perspective towards things is really broadened ever since I joined RutuChakra, because I think 2 years back, when Sanjana actually asked me to be a part of RutuChakra, I did know what menstruation was because uh, going to a private school, I have learned about it, and it is something almost everybody knows. And like you said, I am privileged to be brought up in a family where people accept it, both men and women. And I just knew about it. I didn't really realize the kind of impact it would have on people less privileged than me. And the struggles that people, especially in villages where there's an immense lack of resources, especially men's sanitary napkins, what kind of an impact it would have on them. So I feel like the one thing I have learned from being a part of Rutu Chakra is really accepting the whole process of menstruation, the whole topic of menstruation, not only menstruation but menstrual hygiene, promoting the fact that we need to have a conversation with everybody around, all menstruators, everybody, and that we need to sort of debunk myths and taboos, because even as we call ourselves a modern society, there are places in my country especially where people are still living in a world where menstruators are called sanitary, or they're
Yeah.
sort of just get shunned. Menstruating women are kept in a separate place, so you can't touch a tree, otherwise you won't bear fruit. So that's something that I really learned, is to broaden my perspective and sort of help myself and help those around me debunk these myths, promote promote and educate as many people as possible, because I feel like apart from women and girls, there are a lot of other people who menstruate, and that's why I've learned to use the word menstruators, because it's basically including all those people around the world from all genders or no genders who menstruate. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna ask, how do you feel like the COVID-19 has affected menstruators in general?
So, I feel like in general, the pandemic has sort of just restricted our movement altogether, right? Because even even as a privileged, being a privileged person, I can't really step out of my house to get sort of shop for sanitary napkins and all of that, and it has really impacted people living in villages because as it is, there is a lack of resources over there, and not having to easily access these sanitary napkins makes them turn back to alternatives like cloths or haze or anything that could actually possibly cause a disease or something they're not aware of. So I feel like the main thing that has happened with this pandemic is that there's a real lack of resources, and that's something we really aim to um abolish. So we have done things to address that situation. We have made efforts to tie up with manufacturers and distribute products to a lot of organizations, to a lot of villages, a lot of rural areas. So I feel like we at least we have done our part in some way, but there is still a long way to go because the whole pandemic situation does seem pretty unpredictable at the moment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what about you?
Because Yeah, because just the fact that it was already an issue in itself, and then with the pandemic, it really just heightened the main underlying problems within the issue. Just access is like 10 times harder because of it, and just I'm sure like in the rural areas, especially where this was already like a topic that people usually didn't talk about. But now that it's even harder to even acquire these products, now it's like we really don't need to be talking about this. So I feel like that's something that we're trying to address. We'll do our part in addressing, because like you said, there's a long way to go in this pandemic. No one could have predicted it, no one saw it coming, but we're trying to do our part, even with our upcoming service project that's happening this September. We're trying to pick a particularly like rural area that we feel like exhibits these issues I'm talking about, in particular with just access already being a hard enough issue, and then with the pandemic now it's kind of like a little erasing like what we're trying to do, just because now it's even harder than it was before. So now people really don't want, or really don't have like the the resources to achieve this goal. So we're trying to find an area that like exhibits those qualities, and just we can go in there and imprint the importance of the issue even more.
Have you come across any instances or experiences where you've come across people talking about certain myths or taboos regarding menstruation?
Me personally,
Yeah, or any as an organization, anything.
as an organization, okay, so I'll say me personally, it wasn't a thing I was aware of, because like I said, my family was more progressive in that topic, I guess you could say. Learning about the issue, co-founding WRI, it's crazy the things that we see just from research, and then also like personal accounts from people that we try to talk to. Um, like you said, women aren't seen as clean during these times. They actually get ostracized from their family and their communities during these times during the month. And just stuff like that. I was blown away. I didn't know like something as basic as normal of a process as periods is looked down upon so heavily. So yeah, what about you?
I mean, yeah, as an organization, definitely with all the workshops we've conducted, we have really come across a lot of instances where girls have come up to us and asked us questions like, "Am I allowed to have curd when I menstruate?" Or "Am I allowed to, touch tree when I menstruate, or am I allowed to go to school when I menstruate? One specific incident that we did come across is actually Sanjana came across is that she did hear about a girl who I think was menstruating, and she was made to she was made to sort of have hot, very extremely hot banana leaves kept on her, placed on her private parts, which sort of just destroyed a lot, just destroyed her private parts, because that's how much of an extent people take menstruation as dirty or unclean. And it's really horrifying to listen to, sitting over here. But imagine the kind of pain that people, so many women or so many menstruators out there have to go, undergo. So we have come across a lot of these sort of instances, and we try to keep our workshops extremely interactive. So after, say, presenting a particular topic, we ask them if they're have you understood, or do you have any questions. So a lot of them really hesitate to come up and tell us their problem, because
Yeah.
because of lack of resources, lack of doctors or hospitals in these rural areas. Sometimes we come across people who probably have a menstrual disease or some kind of illness caused because of periods, because of improper menstrual hygiene, but they don't know about it. They don't know what to do, because they're not
Exactly.
aware of the whole process, aware of the whole topic. And it's not like they could actually potentially turn to their families for it, because they're not going to get the response they want, right? So we have tried to conduct workshops with, say, boys as well. And I think the problem really arises when you come from you come from a less progressive family background, because you sort of grow up in an environment where people say that menstruation or periods is dirty, right? And menstruating women or menstruators are kept aside because it's considered dirty. So I
Yeah.
could list a lot of other experiences, but these are some of the more severe ones that we've come across, and it's extremely disheartening to listen to.
Yeah. And I really like it really resonated with me when you said y'all push for not just educating women about this, but also men, because men are part of the reason that these stigmas are perpetuated in society. So just, it's one thing to educate women about it because and other menstruators because they're the ones who actually go through the menstrual process. But even people who don't go through that process, they have to be aware of what menstruators do go through during this time. They have to be aware of what their society paints on these menstruators, and they have to know that the way that they regard the menstrual process and the way that they regard menstruators and how they should be treated while they're on their period. All of this has a huge effect on the menstruators themselves. And I feel like a lot of the time this could be severely alleviated if we teach like boys and other non-menstruators while they're youth, like while they're in school, like, and same thing with menstruators. This is something that needs to be taught. It needs to be celebrated, and it needs to be accepted as a normal process, because if not, like we see now, the type, like the example you gave with the girl, we see how it affects girls and other menstruators. And so yeah, inclusivity in terms of educating people is very huge, and I really agree with that.
Yep, definitely. And I feel like menstrual inclusivity is such a powerful term, but it's not used in the right ways, because it's like I said, it's not only women, it's not only females who menstruate. There are so many other people, the transgenders and non-binary individuals. There's so many other people who menstruate. So just narrowing down the term to females is also not going to help, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's not. It really does need to just be menstruators and then non-menstruators, because, like you said, it's not just toned down to just a particular gender or a particular group of people. It can really happen to anyone. So when I say menstruators, non-menstruators, if you don't menstruate, you still need to be aware of the issue that happens with menstrual inequity and just inaccess to products that can lead to these diseases, lead to menstruators, having to drop out of school or, all of the illnesses that can come with it. So definitely.
So, Khadija, what do you think people can do, to sort of promote and spread awareness about menstruation? I know that the pandemic really limits our efforts at the moment because
Mm-hmm.
I feel, we're not able to move out of our houses and we can't
Mm-hmm.
really physically meet people and be at places to conduct
Mm-hmm.
workshops. So, I feel like social media really plays an important role over here. So, what do you think people can do just by sitting at home?
Just by staying at home. So, yeah, not only during these current times, people have to stay at home, but even just in general, if you find yourself ever thinking, you're not capable or powerful enough to make a difference, which is something that I went through earlier. I was like, I'm not like experienced enough, or I don't know enough about the issue to really do something. But if you have the passion for it, if you have the will, just like you said, just being at home. Social media is a huge platform that a lot of people around the world use these days. You can use your platform, doesn't matter how big it is, you still have some type of audience, some type of person willing to listen to you. You have to use that platform to just not only educate people who don't know about the issue, but people who know about the issue, empower them. People who go through the issue, empower them. People who know about the issue but might either be a reason for perpetuating the issue, or they don't contribute in helping in any ways. Encourage them to, like, teach them the effects of not taking this issue seriously and working to eradicate it. Teach them about it. Encourage them to change their ways, or to just foster a mindset that's more accepting of the fact that we as a society need to change overall. So just use your platform. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be like extremely persuasive or anything. Even just having conversations like we do on our podcast, where it's nothing too like, it's just having normal discussions, like making it normal for us to sit and talk about these things because they're normal processes. So just either share your personal story, just make your platform an environment where other people feel comfortable to share their stories. If you don't have a particular story, just have the discussion and be willing to have the discussion, be willing to change. I feel like is a huge way this issue can be helped.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not necessary to sort of just be a part of an organization to promote and spread
Mm-hmm.
awareness to make a change. You can individually do it at home, like you said, because
Exactly.
the internet and social media plays such an important part in our lives today because everything is just getting moved to the digital world, right? So even by just having a conversation with a friend, a teacher, or anybody at your family makes at least a small difference, because that way you're educating someone. You're at least educating someone. You are
Exactly.
you yourself know about it. So spreading awareness, spreading telling people more about the diseases that are caused because of menstruation. I feel like people do know to a certain extent about the process of periods and everything, but they're not aware of the kind of diseases that can be caused because of improper menstrual hygiene. I mean, I personally did not know a lot about menstrual diseases until we had a workshop last year,
Mm-hmm.
and that was sort of an eye opener to me because I didn't realize that there are some diseases that are caused that could be within us, but we just don't know about them.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah,
But
how
yeah.
did you get your team to sort of join your organization? How did you get people to volunteer for you?
So I will say I noticed like the biggest shift in just acquiring new members occurred because of the co-founders like passion for it. So like me and the four other students I mentioned to you earlier, it was an issue that was really personal with us because we recognize that this is something be going through this. So it was really personal with us. So we were for the issue, and we really encouraged people to just open their minds and be willing to hear what we have to say. And I feel like once we finally got a little audience just willing to listen to us, that's how we were able to, bring a lot of people on board. And we've had members who've expressed to us, wow, we didn't know about this issue either. That's crazy. So just like us. And then other people who did know about it, and they were like, it's really good to see people so close at home, so close to home, like taking a stand against this issue. So I'll say that's how we got a lot of people.
That's great. I mean, I think it's the same for us too. That we feel like I just feel like now that I know so much about menstruation, I know so much about the topics surrounding menstruation. I just feel the need, the urge to educate those around me, because even by just having an open conversation, telling them that to use the word menstruators, because it's basically people who menstruate, not just narrowing it down to a particular gender, makes
Mm-hmm.
a big difference. Not only and it's not only I mean, not only promoting conversations, say, in our neighborhood, but it really makes a difference to a lot of people around there. And putting up posts on our our organization page, or um having live sessions like this, I'm pretty sure it has sort of impacted a few people out there, and that they
Exactly.
have something to take back from all these sessions and all these posts that we put up. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, I think this was a really good session with us, and we'd be looking forward to talking to y'all again. There's a lot of topics we could talk
Oh
about,
yeah,
but I feel like
definitely.
this was a pretty good one.
Definitely. I feel like this session was pretty productive, and I think both of us did learn a lot about not only our organizations, but a lot about the things we discussed today. And I
Exactly.
really hope the people watching did too. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being a part of this, and we hope to see
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Thank you. Same here. Y'all take care.
Yeah, you too.